Hey everybody, it's Karen Anderson here with Aortic Hope, and it is our weekend review. And once again, it looks like this week I might have to be by myself, but I'm okay with that because hopefully some of you will hop in today, join us, or watch it on replay. But before we get started discussing the weekend review, please click like and please click the bell so that you'll be notified of all of our live events. This format is kind of going over all of the posts that we had up on our website as well as on Facebook, and giving the community an opportunity to kind of talk about it, share their thoughts and their opinions. So if people do decide to jump on, if we have some special guests, that'll be extra special, exciting for you. And if any of you are joining us today, shoot us a comment, interact with me. Tell me what you think of today. And well, at least we had Bo. Hey, Bo, nice to see you or hear from you. Maybe you'll have some thoughts on some of these posts. And as people decide to join, your names will go in for a random drawing at 3:30, and you could win yourself an Aortic Hope t-shirt. So let's get started. Let's talk about Medical Monday, which was last week. And Medical Monday was really talking about how the best way you can go about finding a cardiologist. So often community members who are diagnosed with aortic disease or an aortic issue find themselves in need of a cardiologist because they never really had one before, some of them. So you can ask a community member for a cardiologist's name, but you might become very overwhelmed because everybody typically loves their doctor and they love their surgeon, right? So what we did is we found an article from Health Grades that was written by Carol Dawson Farringer, MTC, titled 8 Tips for Choosing a Cardiologist that will help you with this daunting task of finding a doctor. So let's take a look at these now. So first of all, know that finding a physician, any kind of physician, is a very personal decision. And my suggestion would be is before your appointment, start thinking about the kind of person you are, the kind of communication that works best for you, and make a list of things that you think you need in this relationship. I will tell you personally, within the last year, I actually interviewed my first doctor. I never did that before, and I haven't had to really choose a new doctor that was part of my aortic care. And she was my primary care physician. And it felt a little weird. It felt a little awkward to sit there and interview somebody that was going to take care of me. Again, I haven't had to do this since I interviewed a pediatrician for my son. It was many, 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 many years ago. So it was awkward, but I did come handy with a list of questions, and I know myself and I know the type of personalized care that I need. And so we had a wonderful conversation, and she got the job. But it is personal, but there's some things that you can do to prepare. So number one, it's very easy. Get referrals. Talk to the community that live in your area. Talk to your primary care. Ask your surgeon. You need not just a cardiologist, but you really want to be sure that you have somebody that understands aortic disease. If you have a bicuspid valve, you want somebody who understands a congenital heart defect, because that is a defect. So a lot of times, general cardiologists, they may not really want to get involved in potentially difficult, challenging cases like ours can be. So you want to make sure that you find the right cardiologist. And you may receive a list, and it might mean taking time to research the list. And you can go to Medical Grades. It's kind of like the Yelp of the medical community, I think, and take a look and see about the grades that people have given doctors, the references that they're giving online, the reviews that they're giving, and check out the physicians you're considering. The second thing you want to look at would be taking a look at the cardiologist's credentials. Now, I will personally tell you, it doesn't matter to me what university they receive their degree from. I'm happy that they have a credential. I'm assuming that if their name's doctor that they do. But a lot of referrals that are given to people are NPs or nurse practitioners or PAs, physician assistants. Now that, to me personally, is not the same type of access that I would have directly to the cardiologist. PAs are fine, but for me, I need to know I have access to the doctor. So you really want to make sure that they are specially trained in cardiology, possibly even in acute aortic issues. So take a look at their credentials. Number 3, consider the cardiologist's experience. So part of the questions that you're going to ask would be, have you had patients that have aortic disease? Do you work with patients that have aortic valve issues, aortic aneurysms, maybe even had an aortic dissection? These are really important questions because you're going to be talking a whole different lingo. This is a lot more than just blood pressure and heart rate control. This is an ongoing chronic condition for a lot of people, and you need to make sure that your doctor speaks your language and understands what you're feeling inside. So ask them what kind of specific treatments they've encountered, other situations that they've encountered. Do they do echoes right in their office? Do they forward that stuff outside? Lots of different things you need to ask with experience. Number 4, this is a hot topic, but for some people, gender is important. You're going to be openly discussing a lot of information, a lot of side effects you might be having from medications. If that's important to you, to choose a specific gender, then use that as part of your criteria when you're looking up your doctors. Now, understand, of course, women present differently with heart disease. So that's why I think they're mentioning this, because we have different specialized risk factors than a man. And so regardless of what gender physician you choose, you want to make sure that they understand fully that difference. Number 5, research hospital quality. So your cardiologist is going to be affiliated with a hospital, and you want to make sure all of this, of course, you want to clear that it's all covered by your insurance, but you want to make sure that there's a high degree of quality of care at the hospital where your cardiologist takes residency and treats patients. Hospital quality should matter to you because you want to know that there's a chance you're going to have the fewest amount of complications and the highest rate for survival in case you have to be admitted for something. Where the hospital is located might be very important to you. If you're in a much more suburban country area, you don't want to have to be referred to the hospital that's 3 hours away. Maybe you want one that's 2 hours away. So that's also an important thing to consider as well. My cardiologist has just made a change from one major hospital system to another. That's not necessarily my favorite. So I've had to relearn everything from how this hospital system works in scheduling patients, how they sound on the phone, now I have to get comfortable and build relationships with people. I don't like change, but this is part of the consideration that went into making my choices as well. Okay, this one, I'm going to take a sip of water for this one. This one, evaluate communication style. So clearly I like to talk just a little bit. I really love chatting with people. I need a physician, any physician, that is going to be very communicative, explain information to me, allow me to take my full 45-minute office visit time slot and ask questions. I also need to know that they're going to get back in touch with me. I ask them, would you prefer an email through the portal? Would you prefer cell phone text message? How do you best communicate? Do you want me to leave a message with the receptionist? I ask these questions so that I can set my expectations, and I let them know that I am creating expectations based upon their answers. It is a two-way street. I promise them that I am a compliant patient. I will always do what they tell me to do. And in return, I ask for open communication with them. So you want to take note as to how your new physician responds to you. Are they presenting themselves in a way that is going to meet your communication needs? You want someone who's probably interested in getting to know you with your background, and you definitely want someone that's going to ask the right questions. Now, these include family history. If you come across a doctor that does not, primary care and cardiologist, that does not ask you about your family history, even if you think you don't have anything in it, my opinion only, I would probably want to go look and interview another doctor, because in the aortic community, shy from a traumatic experience or something along those lines, there's a much more better chance that you have a genetic condition than not. And so a doctor should be asking you, let's talk about what conditions your parents had. And if you were adopted, have you found any information? These are important things to communicate with your physician. So you need someone that's going to respect your decision making and that you feel you can respect theirs as well and feel that you trust them. Number 7, Goes without saying, if you're going to spend a lot of money in a restaurant, you're probably going to want to look at reviews for the new restaurant. I know when I travel and I want to book some restaurants or book a hotel or book an excursion, I'm reading the reviews. The same goes for your doctors. Now, there's not as many reviews out there on doctors. It's just picking up steam, I feel, but it really will provide you a lot of insight as to how this doctor practices medicine and how their practice is operated and how the patients feel about the doctor. So take a few moments when you're looking up credentials and read the reviews from your community members. And finally, as we had mentioned briefly before, you have to know what your insurance covers. Do not take for granted that just because you call and you make an appointment, that the people behind the desk are verifying your insurance information. I only say this firsthand. There's a chance that they're not, and they're expecting you to do that, which is just terrible, but you have to do it. Make a quick call, make sure that it's covered before you set foot in that doctor's office, because you might have a rude awakening that you have to pay that office fee, which is probably a couple $100 if you do not have insurance that covers their practice. So those are the 8 tips for helping you choose a cardiologist. And if Bo's still with us, I'm wondering if he has any thoughts about that. He wants to type. You can go do that while I move us along to. Okay, let's just stop right here. I completely forgot because I have pump head. I would like to wish, and I think all of us should stop and wish Bo a happy 10-year aortiversary. Way to go. Here's your round of applause. And I have to say it's really wonderful on Aortic Hope's Facebook page, especially. We often have people sharing when their aortiversary is. And hey, look, I'm getting ready to have year 8. So if I have you at year 10, it gives me a lot of hope that I can just keep trucking. So way to go. Whatever you're doing it and it's right. And I hope you have a lot of fun celebrating and reaching out to your physicians tonight. Okay. So I also want to give a shout out to Lisa and Bruce. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. At any point in time, feel free to write your opinion on a topic that we have today. We just finished the 8 tips for finding a cardiologist, and thank you for agreeing with me about making sure your doctor has a good bedside manner. I guess maybe it's just because I'm getting older. I think that's really important. I do not like physicians that are just very cut and dry and want to get in and get out to build the next patient. I need someone that's gonna, you got to hit some music before I'm gonna walk in for some surgery. And you got to discuss with me the music that's going to be played during my colonoscopy. Okay, we need to have that kind of relationship. Even though I'm going to sleep through it, I still need to fall asleep to some really good music. I need you to find that funny when I leave a sign underneath the robe that says, have you been reached about your car's warranty? Like, you're supposed to find that funny, that I give you that kind of humor. So I agree with you. Thanks for agreeing with me. All right, we are going to move on to Topic Tuesday. And this is so great. We have been working with the community. We have actually compiled a list. We compile lots of lists, but this list is thoughts and questions in preparation for surgery. So it's pre-surgery and post-surgery. This list was created by the community for you, the community members. Let's check out some of the things that were said, because some of these are such fabulous ideas, and you can use them for any surgery that you have, honestly. So let's talk about some of these. And again, this is just suggestions, something to take back. See, when I talk with somebody else on with me, nobody notices me drinking. I kind of like, but now you see it. Anyway, so let's go through some of these because they're so great. All right. Obviously, have a loved one with you when you're having your consultation and your pre-op appointment. You need another set of ears. We're so on high alert. We're so scared. We're so nervous that we're not going to be able to retain all the information. Even if you bring one of our journal notebooks, which I thought I'd have easily reachable, and they're not. Even if you bring one of our notebooks with you, have that other set of ears there. And they can also ask your questions too and address any concerns they have. Make a list of questions and topics you want to discuss, such as, how long is this surgery going to last? Now, these questions are beneficial for you, but they're also very beneficial for your team, your caregiving team, your family members. people that are waiting there for you, people that are picking you up, and people that are giving you the care post-op. So how long will this procedure last? And that's important because in the aortic world, they can last typically go anywhere from 6 hours to 11 hours. So it's very scary when a doctor walks out at 4.5. It really instantly puts the fear into family members. They don't automatically go to, wow, it must have gone really well. They go right to, holy hell, like what went wrong? So having that expectation is really important. How long do you think you're going to be in the hospital? That's important to know as well. What is this procedure that you're doing? This again goes for anything that you have ever. As simple as a colonoscopy, having something, a mole removed that you have to have Mohs surgery and be knocked out for, hip replacement, it goes for anything. What can you expect when you wake up? That is so important. Even though many of us don't remember waking up with a breathing tube, it's still important to know. You want to address your concerns and your anxiety. I know for me, I like to know as much detail as possible so that I can be fully prepared and just almost kind of sort of meditate on it beforehand. Pain management, that is such an important thing to understand. And I will tell you personally, again, I have had 4 bowel resections. One was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. I was on an epidural, and I didn't know that when those things wear off, if it wears off during a shift change, the nurses are not coming because you're in pain. So from that day forward, with every procedure I have, I ask, let's talk about pain. It's also important because I'm allergic to morphine. I'm allergic to codeine. I'm allergic to another one. I can't remember now. It starts with a D. But I do very well with Dilaudid and fentanyl. So I know my body. I need to let the doctors know. I need to let them know that I'm sometimes slow to wake up. So these are why these questions are so important. This is your body. You need to have some degree of control, and having these answered gives you that full amount of control and reduces the vulnerability. So have a plan for pain. Asking if you can have a loved one spend the night is a little still precarious. I'm not quite sure what all the hospital systems are doing still with COVID, because COVID it's here. It's not going fully away anytime soon. I don't know what the hospitals let you do as far as having people spend the night, but it's important to ask if you want someone. I like somebody spending the night with me. So that's a personal choice. If you tend to become anxious, talk to your provider. Find out if there's anything they can give you to take the edge off beforehand. I ask about this all the time because I'm very anxious. And I would love, as soon as I arrive, for them to give me a shot of something so that all of the sounds, the beeping, the PTSD triggers are reduced. Very rarely will doctors do it, but sometimes they will. It depends on the procedure. Suggestions of things to pack. We get asked this question all the time in the community, especially from women, about what should I bring to the hospital? What type of undergarment should I bring? So let's talk about this a little bit. You really don't need to bring anything. I have to tell you, you're going to be in their gown. You're going to be in their gown. And if you're having open heart surgery, you really cannot put your arms above your head. So don't bring pajamas that you have to put your arms in. Bring clothes to change into for when you're discharged that have buttons in the front. They're so much easier because you can just slip them on your arms and then have them buttoned or zippered or something. But you want something that's going to be soft on your skin. Wherever you're having this surgery, keep that in mind. Any surgery that you have, but particularly for aortic involved surgery, open heart, you need it soft on the skin. You'll probably have a little bandage, but you may find that your nerves are a little bit more awake and you're easily irritated. Not for everyone, but for some. So silk is a great way to go. Nothing that's going to be too scratchy. You want things that are easy to slip on and slip off. Now, slippers, that's fine. Whatever you bring to the hospital, because they give you the treaded socks, you want them to have good treads. You do not want to slip when you're walking around the hospital. Also, bring shoes that you don't have an issue with the soles. You're going to want to clean them when you get home. That's just my personal preference. I would not want to wear shoes that I'm then going to walk around my house with all the potential germs and stuff in the hospital. Women, don't worry about a bra. If you're having open heart surgery, most times women wake up with a bra. Some people haven't. I know that not all hospital systems are the same, but a lot of times you will. And they are bras that clasp in the front. And they're going to be bras that you're going to want to live in 24 hours a day because they're the most comfortable things you've ever worn. They're like the best sports bra ever. And if you know, you know. That's all I can really say about that. But if you like what you're waking up in the hospital, ask if you can purchase at least 2 more sets before you come home. And they will put them in your bag. And of course, they'll charge you. So some of the other things you want to think about. These are more of your luxury items. I didn't bring any of these to any of my scheduled surgeries. People like smells, room spray, even a little essential oil just to put on their temples, like chamomile, which is soothing. So is lavender, rose, frankincense. They actually have been proven to reduce stress and anxiety. So if you are very into oils, those are some of the oils I've heard that you should consider bringing with you. It may even be hand cream, lavender hand cream, foot cream. Your skin will get drier while you're in the hospital. It's just the air. So maybe bring a little bit of hand cream with you. Toiletries. Now this, I will say, is very important to some people. If you have a scheduled surgery, you want to bring some things from home because they give you the incentive to get back home faster. So while a hospital will give you a basin and toothpaste and a toothbrush and really wet liquidy deodorant, you might want to have your loved one bring you, or you pack your own deodorant, your own toothbrush and toothpaste, facial soap, whatever it is you need. Just remember, this is not a hotel. You may only shower once while you're there. You may accept a sponge bath. So you don't need all of your lotions and potions, just a couple things to remind you of home that'll help give you that incentive to get back home. Things that smell like home or taste like home, it's going to naturally make you feel better. So some people do shower in the hospital, and a lot of people don't. They just never get around to it in recovery. They never have the energy, and nobody cares. Again, unless you're allergic, you do not need all your soaps and your shampoos and you're not going to want any of it. You're just make sure somebody washes your hair, whether dry shampoo. You're not going to want to brush it. You're just not going to care. You think you are, you do, but you're not. Everything you bring in, you're going to have to schlep home with you. So just trust me, less is more. But one of the things that's super important is your cell phone charger. It's so funny to say that. Yes, they still have telephones in hospital rooms, and there are still push button telephones, and they are connected to the wall. And I don't think they charge you for them anymore. But bring your cell phone charger. You're not going to be looking at it that much. You're not going to be playing Candy Crush. You're just going to use it to accept some calls. Maybe you might feel up to texting, but just bring a charger anyway. And again, like I said, whatever you bring to that hospital, you're going to have to pack up and take home. Plus, whatever flowers were delivered or cards that might be delivered. Nothing's being delivered in the ICU, but when you're in your own room that's in the step-down unit. If the hospital lets you accept visitors, you should accept a visitor. Having somebody come visit you, nobody cares what you look like. Nobody cares. They're there to make you feel good. I remember when I had my open heart surgery, one of the very few things I remember is I had a friend of mine and her husband. They snuck in like the afternoon after I woke up and came out of surgery. And I remember them standing on opposite sides of the bed, and they just said, "Can we pray for you?" And I'm not an extremely religious person. And I just said yes. And I just stared at both of them. I was just so happy to have people there that knew me. It made me feel alive. It made me feel like I was gonna be okay. So if they let you have a visitor, you should probably consider saying yes. We talked about pain medicine before when we were talking about the doctors, or earlier when we were talking about plan of care. Do not try to tough it out when it comes to pain, because then you will be playing catch up. You do not want to play catch up on your pain. So if someone is going to give you pain medication, you should consider accepting it. I know everybody has their own personal situations, but if you can accept pain medication, try to accept it, okay? Pain and inflammation can actually hinder the healing process. Too much pain can increase your blood pressure and your heart rate. So if you can accept it, consider accepting it. There are breathing exercises that you can do to help alleviate some of the pain. It's part of grounding techniques. You can look into that as well to prepare for the surgery. But if they give you a PCA, or patient-controlled analgesia, which is basically your own pain medication control device, it's not going to administer more medication than you can take. It will not let you administer it before it's due. You can push the button 100 times in a row and it's not going to give you anything. It'll give it to you when you're allowed to have it based on timing. Don't be afraid to push the button. And if you don't have one of those, and even if you do and you're still uncomfortable, do not hesitate to push the call button and have a conversation with your nurse. Typically in an ICU or CICU ward, the ratio of patients to nurses is 2 to 1. So the nursing staff is going to know you very well for a period of time. Don't feel like you're burdening anybody. They want you to be comfortable. Pain management is very important to them. Okay, now we're past the pain period, and the doctor says it's time for you to get up and move. We talk about this every other Monday, movement for movement. Get up and move. The more you walk, the sooner you're going to be able to go home. If you have bowel surgery, they're going to want you to walk to get the gases moving. They're definitely going to want you to walk. It helps start a bowel movement. These are all things that get the intestines waking things up. It's good to get the blood flowing through the body and to know that you're steady on your feet. It's also very important to rest. But when they say you can move, you should definitely move. Ask someone to take a picture of you in the hospital. I know this could be controversial, but my husband did. He took one of me at the first hospital I went to when I had my dissection, as soon as they told us it was a dissection. And I think for him, he took it because he wasn't sure he'd ever see me again. And then there is a picture of me right after the breathing tube came out. And then there's a picture of me after my hair was washed and I was sitting up in bed. And even those 3 pictures, the difference is they're unbelievable. And as scary as it still is 7 years later to look at them, I had an opportunity during my recovery to look at the picture right after the breathing tube was removed 2 weeks after while I was home and say, wow, I do not feel like I look like I feel in this picture. And then a month or 2 later, I could look back at the picture and say, I do not feel like I look like I feel in this picture. And it just helped me visually really accept that I was actually progressing through recovery. So it's a personal choice. We've seen lots of pictures from survivors and they all make us feel the same way. It's just this sense of personal accomplishment in an area where you have no control. So to see yourself progressing, I think does wonders, and it's positive for people, but it can be very triggering. So it's a personal choice. Just think about it. Many survivors, again, find it therapeutic to look at the pictures and see how well they're recovering, but you make that decision. Ask a close friend or family member to do all of the updates for you if you're part of Facebook. You also, I think we have it on here, can join CaringBridge, caringbridge.com. But people care about you. They're going to be very concerned. It's going to take a lot of time for a loved one to have to call everybody on the phone. And nowadays, people can't recall phone numbers because everything's saved in your cell phone. So major hospitals, some of them have a page specifically for this purpose. Some don't. Again, you can update people on Facebook, or you can create an update page on caringbridge.org. Where people can see pictures of you or get messages to you, or your loved ones can post messages on this page specifically and refer people there. And when you're ready, you can provide your own updates too. Okay, ask your family and friends to bring cards, games, or whatever you'd like. Personal choice. I think in all the times, and I've been in the hospital a lot, that's probably not anything I would personally be thinking I've got that much time on my hands to do. Half the time, if I wasn't talking to them, I was sleeping, sitting upright. But different surgeries leave you with a different level of awareness. And so it's not a bad idea. It's a good way to distract yourself. You're not going to want to read magazines. You're just not going to be that focused. But maybe playing a game or letting them bring games so that when you're sleeping, they do something that keeps them distracted and busy. Ask questions about your surgery and where you are in the recovery process. You may or may not even remember the answers. That's why your loved one's there with a notebook. But if you have open heart surgery, it can be very taxing on the mind and body, and you might have to ask your surgeon and nurses to repeat themselves numerous times. That's okay. Ask the same questions. it's going to help your mind accept the fact that you've had this to begin with. This says you might cry. How about you probably are just going to cry? It is a known fact, for whatever reason, when people have open heart surgery, they get the blues. They become very weepy. For weeks after surgery, you watch Hallmark commercials of little kittens and you might cry. And that's natural and it's normal. You see, your mind has been through a traumatic experience, even if it was a planned surgery. And from what I've heard, sometimes they say that when you cry, it's the brain's way of healing. It's the brain's way of just letting that out. So anesthesia, longer surgeries are known to potentially cause depression. Again, normal to have crying spells that can last weeks. If you find that you're having nightmares, disruption to your eating, that's big disruption. Personality changes over months. You might want to talk to a therapist and find out if you have PTSD. More times than not, patients that have an emergency surgery, whether it's dissection or otherwise, end up with a degree of PTSD, and you should not have to sit and suffer. Some hospitals now are bringing in social workers and psychologists and psychiatrists to evaluate patients that have had aortic dissections, especially, and determine if you have PTSD and begin treatment early. So if you're lucky enough to have that, don't turn that away either. Okay, here's I'm going to take another sip. This is just the greatest piece of advice or tip that I have ever been told. Bring peppermint. Whether it's toothpaste or an Altoid, doesn't matter. Bring peppermint when you go to a surgery where you are going to be catheterized, where you are going to have your urine flowing into a bag. Here's why. When the catheter is removed, it can take some time before your bladder wakes up. So that tube's going to come out amongst all your other tubes, and you're going to feel the sensation that you have to use the bathroom, but you might not be able to go right away. That's not cause for concern. I believe, and I might not be right, that after many hours have passed, like 6, I think is what the magic number is. Could be longer, could be shorter. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. There will be a period in time where if you have not urinated, they may get a little concerned, or you may become very uncomfortable and want to be recathed. You don't want to be recathed. One time a nurse dropped 2 drops of peppermint oil in the toilet while I was there because I was freaking out that I couldn't go to the bathroom. And as soon as I took that big inhale, went right away. There is something about peppermint that relaxes your muscles and lets you go to the bathroom. I have shared this tip with so many people, and I have yet to hear anybody tell me that it did not enable them to use the restroom. So I always pack an Altoid, or I always grab my toothpaste on the way to the restroom when I'm in the bathroom. Doesn't matter if it's been a day or 2 after having a cath removed. I just want to help myself relax as much as possible. And I smell the peppermint and it works wonders. So you'll thank me for that tip one day. Here's some other great tips. This one's another biggie. And any nurses that are watching, you will completely agree with me. Potassium, it's so important for your heart. It's important for your body. If those levels drop too low, they're going to want to give you some potassium. The easiest, fastest way to give it to you is through your IV. Potassium through an IV feels like liquid fire. It feels like acid. If there is not a nice ratio between saline solution and potassium, you are going to be in agony. Maybe not everybody, but I have not really heard anybody say they weren't in pain. So if you're going to have it by IV, you want to have that conversation with your nurse and ask them if they can start it slowly, because you're not going anywhere anytime soon. Slowly, and if they can add a little bit more saline solution. And if they're doing the best they can, then ask if you can have whatever makes you feel better, ice or heat on your arm to help alleviate the discomfort. The other ways that they can give it to you is through a really nasty drink or through pills. Me personally, pills upset my stomach. I just ask for other medication to offset that. But if I have to have it in IV, I have to have a whole conversation about it. We just have to make sure that pain management is taken into consideration, because potassium hurts in the IV. And I wish somebody had told me all of this before I had surgery, because I wouldn't have found out the hard way. So I'm sharing all of this stuff with you. Actually, we're all sharing this with all of you. Okay, this is another one that's a little bit difficult, a little bit hard to handle. Nurses, you're amazing. You're all amazing. But there are times where maybe as a patient, you're not meshing with a certain nurse's personality. You're not communicating in the way that you need that. And that is okay. It doesn't make you a problem. It doesn't make the nurse a problem. There is nothing wrong with speaking with a charge nurse and asking if you can be assigned a different nurse. It's okay. And they will make that change for you. They do not want you to be stressed. They want you to be comfortable. So it's awkward. Nobody's going to take offense to it. Trust me, if you're feeling it, the nurse is feeling the uncomfortability as well. Everybody just wants to be happy. Request a change and they'll come through for you. Okay. The other thing that's important if you're having open heart surgery or any type of cardiac surgery is to find out if you're a candidate for cardiac rehab after your surgery. I know they're going to send you home with paperwork and they say people will follow up, but this is important to ask this question because if you're not told about it and you go into your first follow-up clinic, you want to make sure that you know that you can do some cardiac rehab. If you can't do cardiac rehab, then you want to ask to do physical therapy. And this can actually happen in any stage of recovery. I just started PT again, and I'm 7 years past my surgery because we, as aortic dissection survivors and as people who have cardiac surgery, because we have to sit in such a closed way because you can't stretch because your sternum's healing, because we're on so many new medications, we become fatigued easily. Strained, our strength has diminished, our posture is completely off whack, our arms might hurt, our legs might hurt. We might even have difficulty just controlling our breathing. So it's important to say if I can't go to cardiac rehab, which is like physical therapy, but monitored on a heart machine, on like an EKG machine, you're being constantly monitored. PT, you're not having that monitoring, but if you have a good DPT or doctor of physical therapy, he or she will monitor your heart rate, your oxygen levels, and your blood pressure before, during, and after. So everything else should be the same except the continual monitoring on the heart machine. A good physical therapist or cardiac rehab physician or nurse should teach you the proper breathing techniques to just expand your chest and your diaphragm. And that could be a whole session. It's exhausting, but learning how to sit upright, learning how to properly get in and out of a bed, how to slowly strengthen your body and feel confident in yourself. You can't just go from open heart surgery to the gym. There's no one there monitoring you, making sure that you've modified movements or that your body is reacting and recovering from this exercise. PT and cardiac rehab will monitor you and will give you that confidence level that you need. Let's see, mental health, huge. This should be higher, but it is where it is on the list. As we talked about earlier, there are many survivors that will come out of surgery. And again, this can be any surgery, and they just feel blue. They just feel weepy. And that is a normal depression that comes with surgery. But there are times where it could have other issues accompanying it. So that can be, like we talked about, nightmares, you're hearing things, you're smelling things, you're seeing things that may not be there. Those are all signs of potential PTSD. So don't hesitate to reach out to a licensed clinical social worker, to a psychiatrist, to a psychologist. Ask them for their opinion, see if you can get diagnosed. A lot of times these things can be resolved with therapy, with cognitive behavioral therapy, with CDT, with EMDR. And sometimes people can attend support groups and find that a lot of those symptoms start to wane a little bit as well. And Aortic Hope, we're really proud that we are in a position to offer as many support group meetings as we do. We offer them twice a month for survivors and caregivers, twice a month for caregivers only, and once every other month for individuals who have lost loved ones to aortic disease. But you should also talk to your doctors and see if they have any local support groups as well. And it really is very helpful and validating to listen to the stories of others. Read some of the survivor stories on our website under the tab Survivor within our blog section. They will help you through your process. So those are all of the tools that we have right now that have been provided to you from the community. Let's see what kind of comment we have. You guys are really interacting. I love it. Let me listen to all these comments. Oh my goodness, Lisa, you just mentioned probably one of the things that I'm going to make sure I'm putting a star. It's getting added today. The night before surgery. I think also the night before you have to give blood or get a blood test. Drink a ton of water. You are so smart. You are dead on, because it helps plump the veins up. After midnight, you can't eat or drink anything, and I hate needles. And I have the teeniest veins that exist anyway. So drink a ton of water before midnight. I sometimes get up like right before midnight and gulp down a whole bunch more. You'll be fine. You're not going to puke at surgery if you do it before the cutoff time that the doctor says. What you're going to do is plump your veins up. Makes it a lot easier to get that IV in. Lisa, that's a phenomenal idea. So Bruce, you're like, I don't know, I can't remember the name of the stretch man. Oh, I don't remember the guy's name. But how are you so flexible that you were able to pull out your chest tubes with your feet? Where were your chest tubes positioned? I guess they do face down, but that's a magic trick. And you're not the only person I've heard who has done that before. I've heard people rip out their NG tubes. They sneeze and the NG tube flies across the room. So there are some strange stories with that, but if that's something that you've done, I guarantee you should let a doctor know so that they can have those tubes put to the side where your little toes can't reach them. So Bruce, you have a question about bumps on the skin after surgery. I'm not familiar with anything like that, although I know people who have had other surgeries that end up with a skin reaction because of the iodine or the betadine that they use to clean the skin around an incision. But just generally speaking, anywhere in the body, that's definitely something I would tell a doctor about before any future surgeries, because you want to make sure that you don't have that same similar reaction to another surgery. But if it's near an incision, my guess would be it's due to the betadine or the glue that they're using. I'm not sure exactly where the bumps were, but regardless, let the doctors know before you have another surgery because you're reacting to something. Next. So Bo is making a collection if anybody would like. No, I'm kidding. Bo seems to save his, but you know what? I save my socks with treads. I do. Not the ugly, like gray green ones. I like the bright yellows. Although I've recently learned that the different colors actually mean something. Who knew? One of them means fall risk. And I don't remember what the other colors mean. They might be for sizes, but they're great. Like I have hardwood floors. I love to have treaded socks so that I don't slip when I'm running on the hardwood floors. Not running, but walking, fast in the wintertime. So I think that's great. We are in sync with each other that you have a collection of treaded socks. Okay, learning something new about you each time. It's great. Yeah, so hard candies, Lisa, that's a great idea too, because when you first wake up from surgery, you are not going to be allowed to drink. You're not going to be given food. You probably won't even be given ice chips. You're initially going to get these little green swabs on a stick, and you're just going to be able to squish them in your mouth and wet your lips. I always cheated and sucked out the water from them. I don't even know what they're made of. I didn't care. I was just too thirsty. But once you are able to ingest things, having a candy to suck on and create a lot more of that saliva because your mouth's going to be dry would be beneficial once the doctor says you can. It's another good idea. Good idea. Pain management, PAC buttons are our friends. In our mind, we think if we keep pushing it, we're getting drips of more medication. It's not happening. But if you think it is, why not? I look at the drip, I push it, I think I got something. It's a placebo thingy, I think. Something. But the button's important. I don't know. I got my finger on that button. I've got my finger on the nurse's button. With the button, somebody's going to make me feel better. Buttons are important. Don't forget about your buttons. All right. So Bruce has a question about different blood pressures or between the arms. So probably when you dissected, they would have taken your blood pressure in different arms or different ankles, and you would have been off by like 20 points because that's a huge indicator of the dissection. I am not a doctor. I only play one on TV. From what I understand, it is normal in any given day, with or without these problems. I was just reading about this the other night, taking my blood pressure, struggling, and read about it. It's normal as long as you're not a certain amount of points difference. I want to say it was over 10-point difference, but don't quote me. You can look it up on Omron's page and ask your doctor, shoot him a question. But anything that's under that 10-point difference is normal. And I think they said that the arm that you are dominant in typically is a little bit higher. The when you need to be concerned, I know I've read for sure, because I'll also reach out to my cardiologist, is when it is significantly over 10 difference. I'm on the phone letting her know, like, hey, Houston, we've got a potential situation here. It's also important to note that if your arms have those differences, I used to always go by the lower one to make me feel better because I didn't want to believe that my blood pressure was high. That's so wrong. If your arms have different blood pressure readings, you only need to really measure the one that runs higher, because the higher one is truly indicating the blood pressure that's going on in your body. That is something that Dr. Stacy Fisher, now with Hopkins, has talked about many times in our prior videos. Go with the one that runs higher. So Lisa, you were low on potassium. I know you got to understand where I'm coming from, right? That potassium can be a beast if you don't have a nurse that's really knowledgeable about it. You need somebody who understands that they know that it burns. There's a couple things that they give you that can burn, but potassium's definitely one that that definitely is not fun. So magnesium in pill form, I take it every day. I take a capsule. It's very large. It's a big horse-sized capsule. I don't really struggle with it. And I'm somebody with Crohn's disease, so I can tend to struggle with a lot. I have found that IV magnesium can slightly, for me, be a little uncomfortable, but it is not in the same category as potassium for me. Not at all. I get more of a GI upset even with IV because it still is in your body, but I do not get that same horrible pain. Regardless, if I need to have something given to me that's going to be going through me for a while, I ask them to make it as long as possible. If they want to do it over 4 hours, I'll just say, just take 6 or 8. I'm not going anywhere. It's not life or death to push it fast, then push it slow. I make doctors push everything slow, everything, because too fast can blow my vein, and my veins are so horrible that I want to save my veins. So I know my body. This is where advocating for yourself, that should be on this page as well. You should just say advocating for yourself. Yeah. So Bruce, you were saying that your hospital says you were not eligible for cardiac rehab. That happens a lot. And I'm not too sure why that's happening. There's another community member out here who is looking into this and wondering, is it something with the ICD-10 codes that we don't have a code yet that allows us to receive this with a dissection that doesn't involve valve. So if your valve was spared, or you had no involvement on your valve at all, they're not really doing rehab. I have no idea. It's got to be like the next thing that we advocate for in government, because it makes no sense. I did receive cardiac rehab though, and my valve was spared. I had no issues with my valve. My heart was perfectly fine. I have no idea. I was not on Medicare at the time either. So I think I was with Blue Cross Blue Shield. I don't know why some people get approved and some don't. But if you don't get approved, your physician will give you a script, should give you a script for physical therapy. And it should be for a reconditioning and strength and stamina. And you should derive the same benefit from PT. Any other questions before we go on to our Thursday? Let me check. So it's so crazy that some hospitals aren't even recommending cardiac rehab or PT. And I'm not sure I don't know if it has to do with age, and I don't need you to tell everybody how old you are, but when this happened to me, I was 45, and I didn't even go to a step down unit after my dissection. I went right from ICU discharged. They didn't even know how to do it. They never discharged anybody from the ICU, so they had to figure out how to do that. I don't know why some hospitals do things the way that they do, but I have learned that there are ways around everything. So if it's not recommended, but you want to get back to the gym or you're feeling sluggish, then just ask for PT. And that's kind of what one of the goals of Aortic Hope, one of the goals of me creating this organization with the other women that we founded this with, was because so much of this information is just was not out there. It wasn't being shared. These tips weren't being described or talked about. There's Facebook pages, yes, but we have too many questions to monopolize a Facebook page like that. And so the things that you've added and the topics you even bring up here help me want to now add more stuff to share with the community. So I thank you for that. All right, we're going on to Thursday. Just saying. Going on to Thursday because of 3:51, I've missed my time. I promised you we'd pull a name. So we had Bruce and Bo and Lisa. I think I have all the names of everybody that was with us so far today. Listen, I'm going to make you all winners, but right now I'm going to randomly pull a name. I'm putting it into my randomizer that's here on my phone. I'm going to randomly pull a name, and I'm going to have this person's going to win a t-shirt, and you're going to email at info@aortichope.org your size and your mailing address and your full name so we can send you that t-shirt. And the other two individuals will do the same, but I'm going to send you guys mugs. Look at that. Everybody's a big winner today. See, you gotta play. Okay. All right. Our winner today for a t-shirt is Lisa. Lisa, you have won a t-shirt. And Bo and Bruce, you are each getting mugs. I wish I had it right here for me to show you, but you're each going to get a mug. So congratulations to all of you, but do not leave me yet. Do not leave me hanging. We have a couple more days. I love interacting with you. Let's get right to Therapeutic Thursday. Grounding techniques. What a great time to talk about this, right? We had an amazing guest speaker, Katie Moran. She's a licensed massage therapist of a business she has called The Getaway. And she put together this incredible presentation for us, talking about how you can use your 5 senses to ground you. And this is wonderful to share because we have such a great live event coming up in July that I'm just going to tease you with because we're going to talk about it next week. But these are ways that you can integrate what you learn every day to live more relaxed. And living a relaxed lifestyle really enables us to create a reality every day that we don't need to escape from. Constant input from the universe, society, and our own self-care choices can contribute to our wellness or our unwellness. Let's take a look at these. Okay, I'm not going to go through them all because you can click on this on our website. But when you think about it, it just makes sense. Whether you're into essential oils or not, smells. Let's think about this. There's definitely a smell that each of you, anybody watching this right now, if you smelled it, you would think of your childhood. You would think of a holiday. Maybe you smell sweet potatoes. You think of Thanksgiving. You smell apple pie. There's different smells that bring a sense to you. Feeling good, feeling embraced, feeling comfortable. Maybe some smells that do not make you feel good. But that's the whole point of scent. There is a way to ground and calm yourself through scents. And I know for myself, when I smell jasmine or lavender or chamomile or peppermint, I am in a spa. I am in a spa. I close my eyes and I'm in a spa. I love aromatherapy massages for that reason. All of these different sedative-like smells up here, chamomile, clary sage, frankincense, jasmine, lavender, all of these that are listed, even mandarin, they make you feel calmer. And this is scientifically proven. This is not just somebody's opinion. The other thing through scent that you can do to help ground yourself is an alternating nostril breathing. It's a technique of breathing in, holding your breath, switching, and breathing out. And then breathing in, holding your breath, and switching. I sound really nasally when I do that. But feeling the cool breath, feeling the hot breath. These are ways to help you distress. Is it really the breathing? Maybe, probably. Part of it is the distraction of having to do something else that takes your mind off of the trigger. Sight, using your vision, creating an ambiance, an environment around yourself. that you enjoy. I know when I get to the beach or any place that I see a palm tree, I am instantly so much more like my whole skeletal system just relaxes. Visually, that's my thing. Certain colors are my jam. I do not like reds. I do not like bold, bright. I like more of the blues, more of the purples, like more of the like fuchsias. I just love those colors. So figure out visually what you like to see, what your environment is, and create it for yourself. Taste. So there are certain tastes that will remind you of safe places, of happy memories, having consciousness, being consciously aware of when you eat, not shoving food in and going so fast. Enjoy the food in the way that it tastes if you can. Take time to chew, take time to enjoy a glass of wine or your favorite beverage, and really just take time. And when you eat and how much you eat is very important to having a more relaxed digestive system. So if you eat in bed where you're supposed to sleep, you may get sleepy every time you eat because you're training yourself that the two of those are supposed to be connected. So just think about that kind of stuff a little bit. Obviously, you might want to have more anti-inflammatory foods, and you definitely want to drink a lot of water. The next sense would be touch. So there's a lot of things that you can do for yourself. You don't have to pay money to go get a massage. Of course, someone can help give you a massage or a foot massage, but there are pressure points on your body. There are things called tapping that you can do. Again, is it the tapping that's hitting a nerve that's making you be relaxed? Probably not. It's the distraction. It's the movement. It's the purposeful movement that you're doing that takes your mind off of that trigger that's causing the stress. Okay, so my husband knows when I'm stressed out, I typically, with one finger, rub an eyebrow. Never both. It's usually just one. I'm just always, it distresses me. And it lets him know he should distress me too, because I'm doing the move right here to calm myself down. Yoga, meditation, they're all great for de-stressing and relaxation. And Reiki, if you have never had Reiki, why not give it a try? It can't hurt. A lot of people are big believers in energy. I do believe in energy. I've not really had Reiki myself, but it works with a lot of people. And sound, listening to songs. And we're going to get into that tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, with Jennifer Fernjock, as she talks about her book. And part of the stuff that she talks about in her book about strength and grit is sound, and using sound as a way to distress yourself. Why do you think they offer you music when you go in for an MRI? And if they don't, they should. It's not so much for the sound, to remove the sound, because you have earplugs in. It's to help de-stress you and take your mind off of what's happening. Listening to spa music, heavy metal, whatever it is that you like, it's a distraction from the stress and the anxiety. Also, positive affirmations. A lot of people are into this. Just starting the day off, look at yourself and tell yourself, I'm a badass, and then start your day. So calm music, nature sounds. I like flute, like Indian and flute music. When I'm really trying to calm myself down, spa music is the go-to. It goes right on the television. It always did when I was recovering from my dissection. With every surgery, spa music was my go-to music. So these are the ways that you can instantly ground yourself. If you're still suffering from some PTSD triggers, and of course, talk to your therapist about this, but what I have found and what's been taught to me is, for instance, if I'm in a car and I'm not feeling well and I hear an ambulance, it's always a big trigger. If I feel that trigger coming on, I immediately turn up the volume of the radio. I turn up the speed of the air conditioner. So now I'm hearing something, I'm feeling something. I'm smelling the air freshener that's attached to the vent from the AC. So that's 3. So now I usually do the touching, that's 4. And if I can just smack my lips together and taste whatever taste is in my mouth, if I'm chewing gum or I've just had a drink or there's something in my car, then I'll do taste. I don't even usually need to get to that one because I've already been distracted enough and the ambulance is already gone. And that's the whole point. Use something that's part of you and your environment. By the time you get to number 2, it's already over. Counting is another technique. sets of 4, sets of 2, sets of 8, whatever you're good at. I do 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. I do this over and over again. And then I don't even remember what it was that was stressing me out. But then I have a really bad memory. But these are all great techniques to help reduce stress and triggers. So if anybody has anything to say. Yes, when you are vulnerable, you need 100% support. So if you are not finding that, you can come check us out. We'll put you in touch with somebody that'll definitely be there for you. But it might also mean that you have to speak up and state what you need. I think that this is not a male-female thing. It's just a human thing that people sometimes don't want to share. They feel like they've burdened the other person enough. But it was very hard for me to accept that I could not and I cannot do things the way I did. So I shut down. And then my husband one time said to me, if all you can give is 20% of yourself, just give 100% effort to the 20. I'll take care of the 80. This is a financial advisor, so he talks in numbers. Just give your best effort towards the little that you have left. That's all. That's all I need. And that was all I needed to hear. It gave me permission to say, I'm not doing less, I'm doing differently. And so if you look at it in quantitative measures, like I'm not cleaning as much, I'm not contributing as much, it's all negative, 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 not. I clean, I do what I can do. I contribute what I can contribute. So years later, I don't need as much support like that, because I have taken what I got initially and now I created my own words in my own mind. I create my own permission. I support myself, but there are definitely moments where I need a lot of support and I shut down myself. So, I'm pot calling the kettle black, but I do it and then I'm called out on it. And I have to speak up and ask for what I need. So I think it goes both ways, but you are right. When you need that support, you need somebody that's going to be all in for you. So Bruce, you're able to, so are you able to get you have your groundiness through your walks? I think that's what you're saying. They're not using smell techniques, if I'm understanding correctly. Well, that is another technique, is just I think that when you walk, it encompasses a lot. You have smell, you have sight, you have hearing, you have the sensation under your feet. So walks are just, what a great way to encompass all of it. I mean, maybe you're not tasting anything unless you're eating something when you're walking. You ain't eating the leaves. But walks are a great way to encompass everything, I'm sure. All right, we're moving on. We're moving on so that we can wrap up our weekend review. We are on to Feel Good Friday. Look at that. Look at that. Do you see that number? We're almost at 1,000, you guys. I think it's this way. We're almost at 1,000 followers. Get us there. Let's get us there. Join our Instagram, like us, follow us. When we get to that $1,000, $1,000, 1,000 person mark, we're going to give away another t-shirt. So talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, because aortic disease is much more common than you think. It's the dissection that's the rare event. But I'm going to tell you a little story. We have a fundraiser that's coming up August 11th in Maryland. And I've been walking around with another board member, Tammy, who's wonderful. She's one of our co-hosts here on our AHTV. And we were talking to people in the community. And out of about 16 people we talked to, 3 we found that were very familiar with aortic disease. 1 lost a brother to a dissection. They found out that the whole family has low EDs. 2, another person, her husband and his whole family all have aortic disease issues. All of the kids, people have been diagnosed. They're all being monitored. And a third person understands aortic disease because she had a congenital heart defect. She had CHD when she was 4. She had a surgery, but was taught about all of this growing up because they have to monitor her for any other issues. So that's 3 people that were like, yes, I know it. I totally know it. I know it. I know your community. I know what you're about. It's much more common than you think. So get people you know to like and follow our page, and then we're going to draw a name. Maybe you'll be the lucky winner. But there's a lot of different ways that you can follow us. So like our Instagram page, follow us on YouTube. Obviously, if you're on Facebook, we'd love to have you there as well. And come join us like you guys are here today, Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. 1,000, we're almost there. Okay. Let's move on to Saturday. Saturday is a lot of fun. We're just doing a friendly reminder here. It's called our Share with the Community Saturday. Friendly reminder, we are currently accepting photos of community members, doctors, nurses, what have you, for our 4th annual Community Hope campaign. I cannot believe that Aortic Disease Awareness Day is like less than 3.5 months away on September 19th, but the entire month of September is Aortic Disease Awareness Month, and we are launching our 4th campaign, which is all about you. So we have on this post all of our prior year's videos that we have collected with photos from the community members. Please check it out. It's underneath it's one of our blog posts here underneath the blog on our website. And we are going to be collecting photos of you. All you need to do is email it to us at info@aortichope.org and put hope in the subject line, and we will take care of creating a video. Look, there's a lot of people out there that want to tell you that you have so much in common with well-known celebrity names: Lucille Ball, Albert Einstein, John Ritter, Alan Thicke. You have something in common with people in the community right now, because we are here to talk about it and support each other. All of those other individuals put this disease on the map, but they are no longer with us. And we are learning from what has happened to them, and we're making great strides in the medical community because of it, and we're so thankful. But we have something in common with you. We're here, we can support each other, we can learn from each other. Get your photos into us and be part of that annual Hope campaign video. Blah, 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 blah. We have a big storm coming in the background, so you might hear some boomers happening sooner than later. All right. Scientific Sunday, we are almost ready to wrap this up. John Ritter Research Program for Aortic and Vascular Health actually explains in Genetics 101 the risk factors for aortic disease. So genes are what basically make up our heredity. Genes are made up of DNA and act as instructions for our body on how to grow and develop properly. So the Human Genome Project, which was started not too long ago, in my lifetime, has estimated that humans have between 20,000 and 25,000 genes, and genes are stored in packages called chromosomes. So without explaining all of this scientifically to you, it is a known fact that there are genetic syndromes and diseases that actually contribute to thoracic aortic disease. So very different than your abdominal area. Now, at Aortic Hope, we support from root to the end of the entire aorta and anything that happens in between. But the John Ritter Research Program and the John Ritter Foundation, their goal is to primarily focus on thoracic aortic disease because it is deadlier than having the disease in the abdominal area in most cases. So they're focusing primarily on what happens with thoracic aortic disease, and some of the disorders that contribute to people having thoracic aortic issues are Marfan syndrome, Loeys-Dietz syndrome, vascular Ehlers-Danlos, and Turner syndrome. Now, there's a lot of additional information. You can click on the link and they go into everything about Genetics 101. There's a lot. But what is great is when you get to learn about the different types of thoracic disease, because the majority of us, at least 70% of us, will go have genetic testing and it comes back of unknown origin. So frustrating, right? We would love to have a reason to base this on, something to blame it on, something to search for in our children or siblings, but there's nothing there. And that just means there's nothing there today. So when you have genetic testing, one of the things to remember is you should have a follow-up test 5 to 6 years later, because that's how many new genes are being discovered and mutations are being discovered. If you participate in the John Ritter Research Program, that is just that, research. So you have to have clear expectations. You're not going to be notified a week after you submit your sample as to whether or not you have something. You might not be notified at all unless they find something. If you participate in clinical, well, now those outcomes could potentially be shared, and it may adversely affect you in being able to obtain insurance, children's insurance, if there is something found. But you will be notified of the results. Typically within 90 days, you'll know about every result. And I think they're testing now like 30 different genes. For me personally, even though I was genetically tested, I'm of the belief that I should just be treated anyway, as if I have a known syndrome. Treat me the same way as someone who walks in the ER with Marfan syndrome, order me that CT scan. That's what Think Aorta is promoting and trying to push, is think about the aorta, whether they have a syndrome or not, since the majority of us do not have one that is known and been given a name. So check out all of this incredible information that's here. And I'm trying to get to my final screen and I can't get to it right now, but that's okay. It's a lot of information. It's good information. I suggest you check it out. All right. That's our week. That's our week in review, everybody. It's very exciting. Very exciting to have you here with us. I thank you so much, Lisa and Bill, and I'm sorry, Lisa and Bruce and Bo. Bruce, Bo, Lisa. Try to say all that. It's a lot to say. I would like to share with you this before we go. We need to talk about tonight's event. So we have already had 2 incredible book reading events. We had our first one with Maria Herrera, who went over her survival story in a form of poetry. So many different types of poems, brought up such a plethora of emotions. And then we just had one with Terry Benson. Well, Terry Benson's book was incredible. It took you through, I mean, just everything about her story, just detail and detail, so validating, just saying all the things that I've never said out loud. Tonight, The Power and Strength of Emotional Grit with Jennifer Fernjack. I had a chance to sit and listen to Jennifer give her presentation in Minneapolis for Rock from the Heart Symposium and was blown away. I mean, the 2 of us were like, blah, 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 the whole rest of the night. I'm not giving away anything about her book, except to say it's exceptionally well written. I'm not telling you anything about her story, except to say the way she flips a script and changes the narrative, which is very much the theme. You really learn to put your situation into perspective. It is a wake-up call. And even 7 years later for me, I put that book down some nights and picked it right back up again and reread specifically chapters 3 and 4 multiple times. Her speech was so impactful. She really works towards changing the narrative to help you learn to lead a much more grateful and blessed life. I think you should be here with us tonight. First of all, we're giving away a book tonight during our live event. You will have an opportunity, just like you are doing now, to leave us comments, to ask questions, but she is offering her book at a $5 discount from now through the end of August. Like, this is amazing. Her book is called Greater Than: The Power and Strength of Emotional Grit. You can purchase her book using the link underneath that events tab on our website and type in the code $5 off greater than to get your $5 off. She is an author. Jennifer is an author and keynote speaker from Spring Park, Minnesota. She received her bachelor's degree from the University of Minnesota Duluth and an MBA from the University of St. Thomas. Well, I wish I went there. Through a medical scare in 2016, she learned that courage does not need to be in the absence of fear. It can be feeling afraid and being able to persevere anyway. Her uplifting messages of hope and emotional grit have been heard by people such as patients, survivors, and caregivers, students, business professionals, as they face adversity and seek ways to reduce stress. So she really provides the science of things in everyday life that you can do through music, laughter, acts of kindness, gratitudes, dealing with your pets, and just facing your fears. As she says, the best thing in life are free, and this is free for you. And I really highly suggest you check it out tonight. You just join us here. Hit the bell, like and subscribe, and you'll know to come on with us at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, let's get to any final comments. Okay, Bruce, you want to know about TikTok. I'm just going to try to whip out something for you. We have not yet created an Aortic Hope TikTok, although I would not say it's beyond the realm of possibility. I will be traveling this week with some of our board members from Aortic Hope, so yeah, you're making me think about it. I have my own TikTok. It's out there. You'll have to try to find me. Maybe you already know where I am. I post a couple things here and there. It takes me too long to learn these dances. I'm a perfectionist. But if we come up with an Aortic Hope TikTok, which I'm sure I'm going to hear all about it, that we will be sure to post it and be looking forward to you to follow us. So, Bruce, I hear that you have an upcoming appointment with a Marfan specialist. Yeah, would you believe that there are moments in time where you could be the very first, you're the patient X, where you realize you have Marfan's and nobody before you had anything. It does happen. It is not far-fetched. We know other people where it's happened to, but that does mean that any children you have or siblings should definitely be checked as well, because you could start that continuum now, and now other people will be getting it carried down from you. Fun, but you'll be the first. The first is great, right? The first with knowledge is really exceptional. So good for you. I'm glad you're getting it checked out. And if it comes back for some reason that it's not Marfan's, go back again in 6 years and get it checked again to see if they found any mutations. So you never know. All right. Lisa, you love my TikTok, huh? Well, maybe I'll do a special one this week and I'll give a shout out to you. I don't know what I'm doing. There will be TikToks this week, though. I love the ones where I could get my family involved. I will never, ever, ever erase the one with my dad, who's no longer with us, but he's just was so funny. And my mom is just so adorable in her 4'11" self. And my sister's such a trooper. And my son, before TikTok came out, my son's been doing music videos with me, lip syncing videos. He's just such a great kid. So yeah, I try to have some fun with it. We do have a video one time, my husband, it's on my video page on my personal Facebook page. I have to figure out how to get it to live elsewhere. But he was behind me and his arms became my arms, and he applied a full face of makeup. You can already assume how well that looked, but I was just crying through most of it, but I had a lot of really good commentary. I went with it, all of his ad-libbing with his hands, and I keep begging him that we should do it again, but we'll see. We'll see. I think that I'm gonna have to go back and look. You got to add some more. Lisa, but so you probably are a little crazy, and that's great. And being crazy instead of boring is such a more fun way to live, right? There's a couple survivors and community members actually on TikTok. I find them every now and then, and I end up with a whole new perspective about them. So yeah, feel free. Feel free. If you want to contact me directly, just send me an email on info@aortichope.org, and we'll talk offside. We'll talk about some things. Well, look at you guys, big winners. This was so much fun. See, you need to come out. You never know when things like this are going to happen. You got to play to win. You got to participate. And even better, I dare any of you to join me here live. It's the same as where you are right now, except I get to see your face and you get to see, well, you already see mine. I get to see yours. So consider it. It's a challenge. If you're interested, I think that you should shoot me an email and we can get you online. We can get you on live with us. I'd love to have you. Otherwise, everybody that's watching in replay, please click like, please click subscribe. I'm tired. I've talked a lot today. And check out our event this evening. If not, we have our support group meetings coming up. Great live event coming up next month. I cannot tell you how great this live event's going to be. Well, I will tell you about it next week. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. We'll be sure to reach out to you. And as always, we'll see you next Monday at, no, we're going to see you next Monday. That's 4th of July. We'll see you next Tuesday at same time, 3 p.m. on Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.